Most men assume that Machiavelli's wisdom is only meant for rulers and leaders. They want to learn dark psychology and mental manipulation tactics so they can use them against women. What if I told you that women have been living by those very Machiavellian principles long before men even started studying them? That's right. The truth is uncomfortable. Women don't need to learn these tactics. They already know how to use them because they've been honed to perfection by thousands of years of evolution. See, women had to become masters of subtlety and nuance simply to survive in a male-dominated world. Men, on the other hand, have been socialized to believe that brute force, wealth, or reputation is the primary means of achieving their goals. But in reality, it's the women who have been quietly mastering the art of power, pulling strings from behind the scenes and leaving men none the wiser. Now, before we delve into the specifics of how this manifests itself in modern times, let's take a step back and look at the origins of this phenomenon. You see, throughout history, women have faced a unique set of challenges and obstacles simply because of their gender. In a world where men often valued strength, power, and dominance, women had to find other ways to navigate and thrive in society. As a result, they developed a whole host of subtle weapons at their disposal. Weapons like image, silence, withdrawal, and selective affection. These weapons may not have been as flashy or as immediately effective as a man's weapons, but they were just as powerful in the long run. In fact, when you examine the Machiavellian principles closely, you'll see that they were essentially born out of necessity for women. For example, one of Machiavelli's key ideas was that it's better to be feared than loved. At first glance, this may seem callous and unfeeling, but consider the alternative from a woman's point of view. If a woman shows weakness or vulnerability, she runs the risk of being taken advantage of or even exploited by a man who only sees her as a means to an end. Therefore, it makes sense that women would instinctively develop a fearsome reputation that commands respect and keeps others at bay. Another Machiavellian principle is the idea that it's not necessary to be good, but to appear good. Again, this can be seen as deceptive or manipulative. But from a woman's perspective, it's simply a matter of self-preservation. By projecting an image of innocence or naivety, a woman can avoid becoming a target of a man's darker impulses. At the same time, she can pull strings and exert influence behind the scenes without drawing attention to herself. And so it goes with many other Machiavellian tactics. When you look at them through the lens of female intuition, they suddenly make a lot more sense. The truth is that women have been playing the game of power for centuries, and they've developed a whole host of subtle strategies that men just don't know about. They may seem intuitive or even unconscious, but these strategies have been honed to perfection through years of trial and error. Let's take the modern phenomenon of ghosting, for example. Men often see it as a cowardly or immature way to end a relationship. But from a woman's point of view, it's a perfectly Machiavellian move. By disappearing without a trace, she cuts off all forms of communication and leaves the man in a state of confusion and uncertainty. This not only preserves her own peace of mind, but also maintains her power and control over the situation. She holds all the cards, and the man is left with nothing but questions and regrets. And that's just one example. There are countless others that could be mentioned, but you get the point. Women have been mastering the art of manipulation and control for centuries, and they do it with a level of finesse and precision that men can only dream of. Men, on the other hand, tend to be much more direct in their approach to power. They want to be the CEO of a company or the president of a country. They want to be feared and respected from a distance. But what men don't realize is that this is exactly what women have been doing all along. Women have created entire industries and economies based on their ability to manipulate and control the hearts and minds of men. They are the ultimate players in the game of life, and they've been playing it by their own rules long before men even knew what the game was all about. So the next time you hear some Machiavellian principle that seems cold and calculating, just remember that it might not be as dark and sinister as you think. From a woman's point of view, it might just be a matter of survival and self-preservation in a world that is often hostile and unforgiving. And hey, If they can play the game better than anyone else, then who are you to judge them? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching. Men rush to solve conflict with words. They try to talk their way out of every little disagreement or argument. But have you ever noticed how women don't? Have you ever seen a woman who could destroy your whole world just by shutting up? In this video, we will discuss the psychology of female silence. We will see how it is the most powerful weapon in a woman's arsenal. And by understanding how it works, you can protect yourself from falling into the trap. This phenomenon has been described by relationship expert John Berger in his book, and it's called the Reverse Machiavelli Effect. You see, when a woman is silent, she uses what psychologists call psychological warfare. Instead of engaging in an argument or trying to win a fight, women create uncertainty. They create a psychological void that only drives men insane. Women know that men are wired to seek resolution. They know that the male brain cannot deal with uncertainty, so they use that against us. When a woman goes silent on a man, she doesn't give him a chance to defend himself. She doesn't tell him what he did wrong. She doesn't try to explain her side of the story. She simply withdraws herself, and that destroys him from the inside out. It forces him to overanalyze everything, to doubt himself, to feel insecure and anxious. It makes him question his own thoughts and feelings, all while she remains silent and enjoys watching him suffer. You see, women know that silence is the ultimate form of feminine power. It allows them to maintain control without having to exert any force. They don't need to be aggressive or dominant because their silence does the job for them. They don't need to say a word to make you feel like you're being punished. Their silence is the punishment. John Berger describes it as a form of reverse Machiavellianism. You see, when a man goes silent, he might as well be dead to a woman. When a man withdraws his attention and affection, it is a clear sign of rejection and abandonment. So women typically respond by becoming quiet and cold, giving the man nothing but silence and ignoring him completely until he comes back around. But it's not really about punishing the man. It's about controlling him. By going silent, the woman creates a void that the man feels compelled to fill. He tries to chase after her, to win her back, to make her talk to him again. But every time he gets closer, she pulls away. And this keeps him stuck in a cycle of chasing and rejection. Psychologists have found that the male brain is wired to seek resolution. We are biologically programmed to fix things, to solve problems, to bring order to chaos. But this can be a problem when dealing with a woman who uses silence as a weapon. You see, when a woman goes silent, she is essentially creating a psychological problem for the man. And since his brain is wired to seek resolution, he will naturally try to fix it. He will try to get her to talk, to reason with her, to make her come back around. But this only makes things worse. It gives the woman more power over him. This is what happens because of the scarcity principle. When something is absent, we tend to value it more. But when it's constantly present, it becomes background noise. Women understand this very well. They know that if they constantly show love, affection, or attention, we will take it for granted. But when they withdraw it, when they become scarce, we become obsessed with getting it back. We begin to doubt ourselves. Why is she ignoring me? What did I do wrong? Is she going to leave me? These thoughts consume our minds until we do something desperate to make her come back. And that is the ultimate goal of female silence. It is not about punishing the man. It is about controlling him. By going silent, the woman creates a void that the man feels compelled to fill. He chases after her, but that only makes her pull away more. And this creates a downward spiral that leads to more silence and more chasing. So remember, brothers, when a woman goes silent on you, do not chase after her. Do not try to reason with her or make her come back around. Simply walk away. Let her silence be the answer. Let her be the one to reach out. That is the only way to break the cycle of female silence. By the way, don't forget to show some love and hit like for the algorithm to see the next best way to level up as a man. Watch these videos here. Every man craves affection. A smile, a touch, a gentle word. These small signals light up the male brain like fire. But what most men don't realize is that affection can be more dangerous than absence, because when given in doses, it doesn't just soothe, it conditions. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are more moved by the things they see and touch than by those they hear." Women embody this truth instinctively. Their affection isn't random, it's strategic. A moment of warmth here, a sudden withdrawal there. Each act calibrates your behavior without you even noticing. Think about it. When she compliments you right after you did something for her, she's training you. When she withholds intimacy until you adjust, she's reinforcing boundaries. When she surprises you with rare softness after cold distance, she hooks you deeper than before. This is not accidental. It's psychological conditioning. The male mistake is believing affection equals love. But affection is currency, and she spends it carefully. Not all at once, not endlessly, but in controlled doses that make you crave the next fix. And like a gambler in a casino, you keep playing, chasing the feeling of winning her warmth back. This is the sweet poison. Affection that feels like reward, but functions like control. Too much, and it loses power. Too little, and it creates panic. But when balanced with precision, it shapes your choices, bends your will, and convinces you it's all your idea. The reverse Machiavelli effect isn't loud or forceful. It's subtle, soft, and sweet. The very thing you believe makes you strong. Her love, her touch, her attention, becomes the leash that keeps you in place. And here's the cruel irony. Men often think they're the leaders in relationships. But when affection is weaponized, leadership quietly shifts. Because the one who controls the emotional highs and lows is the one who truly holds power. Every man fears losing what he loves. And women, whether consciously or instinctively, wield this fear like a blade. It's not always about betrayal or outright infidelity. Sometimes it's just a look, a laugh, or a silence at the right moment. Machiavelli taught rulers to maintain power by keeping their subjects in a state of uncertainty. Women apply this same principle in the realm of emotion. A passing mention of another man. A delayed reply. A playful flirtation that doesn't quite cross the line. None of it is random. It creates scarcity, the sense that her attention could vanish, that her love isn't guaranteed. Scarcity is powerful because it rewires male psychology. The moment a man senses he could lose her, his competitive instincts flare. He invests more, sacrifices more, and fights harder for what was once freely his. The leash isn't visible, but it's there, pulling him to chase, to prove, to submit. Here's the paradox. The man who tries to control through logic often finds himself controlled through emotion. The threat of loss is stronger than any promise of gain, and jealousy isn't just a weakness men fall into. It's a tool that keeps them locked in pursuit. Think of the Roman gladiator in the arena. He doesn't fight because he loves the emperor. He fights because his life depends on winning. In the same way, a man under the spell of jealousy doesn't chase out of choice. He chases out of fear. This is the invisible leash. The quiet maneuver that makes a man compete against shadows, doubt himself, and cling tighter to the very source of his unease. And the most dangerous part? He believes it's his own passion, his own drive, his own choice. The reverse Machiavelli effect doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. And the whisper of scarcity, the subtle taste of possible loss, can enslave a man more completely than chains ever could. Men like to think they are in control. They decide where they go, when they do things, and ultimately how things end. They believe they are the master of their own ship, steering it through the waters of life. But what if that's just an illusion? What if there is a force more powerful than the will of 1,000 men, yet invisible, intangible, operating behind the scenes, pulling the strings of their lives like a puppet master, a force that can make you believe that you alone are in control, when in reality you're merely a pawn in its game? This is a story about that force, the reverse Machiavellian effect, where women make you believe you are choosing them when in reality they've already chosen you. There are 3 stages to this reverse Machiavellian strategy. First, the illusion of choice. Just like Niccolo di Niccoli, also known as Machiavelli, who wrote The Prince, a treatise on acquiring and maintaining power. Even though his work was about ruthless tactics to seize power, the modern woman uses the same playbook in reverse. She makes the man feel like he's in control by offering him choices, but these choices are carefully designed to lead him in one direction, her direction. Take, for example, deciding on where to go for dinner. She might say something like, "Oh, I don't really care where we go," while casually glancing at her phone, subtly hinting that she'd prefer a particular restaurant. Men, being the simple creatures that we are, often miss these subtle cues and end up suggesting the very same restaurant that she had in mind all along. It's a masterful display of reverse psychology, a way to make you feel like you're the one making the decisions while actually nudging you towards her predetermined choice. The second stage is commitment timing. The old adage, men buy the first round, women buy the second, isn't just a humorous observation about bar tabs. It's a testament to a deeper psychological principle. Women understand the importance of timing, particularly when it comes to matters of the heart. They know that men, driven by our biological imperative to conquer and provide, are more likely to commit earlier in the interaction when emotions are high and the possibility of conquest seems within reach. Think about it. When you meet a woman and you start talking to her and you find yourself in a situation where you're about to ask her out on a date or maybe even ask for her number, your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, and your brain is flooded with a cocktail of hormones, all because you're experiencing a surge of excitement and anticipation. But for her, she sees this coming a mile away, having observed this particular dance countless times before. She knows that your emotions are peaking, and she lets you ride that wave. Why? Because she knows that this emotional crescendo is the perfect time to ask for commitment, to lock in that moment and move the relationship forward. It's like she has a 6th sense for knowing when the arrow of your desire is pointed directly at her heart, and she lets you take the shot. And when you do, she's there waiting for you to seal the deal, cementing her place in your story. And finally, the third stage is leading the dance. You may have heard the old saying, women want to be led. While it might sound a bit archaic, there is a kernel of truth to it. Women appreciate a man who can take charge, who can lead not just in words, but also in actions. It makes them feel safe, cared for, and desired. But how does this tie into the reverse Machiavellian effect? Well, consider this. When you're dancing with a woman and the music starts playing, you step forward and offer her your hand. She places her hand in yours, and in that moment, there's an unspoken understanding that you will lead her through the steps of the dance. All she needs to do is follow. Now, it's not that she couldn't lead if she wanted to, but in that moment, she has placed her trust in you to take the lead. She's giving you the reins of her world for that brief moment in time. And you, if you're a good leader, will guide her through the dance gracefully, confidently, and with a touch of romance. But remember, it's still her dance. She chose the song, and she decided to dance with you. So lead her well, but lead her with care, because in this dance of life, it's the little things that matter most. So who really is in control? The man who thinks he is, or the woman who understands the art of subtle influence? The answer, my friends, lies in the quiet confidence of a woman who doesn't need to shout to be heard. Her voice is in the gentle suggestion, in the knowing glance, in the perfectly timed silence. It's in the reverse Machiavellian effect, where she makes you think you're in control while she orchestrates the dance of your destiny. They say that power comes from the barrel of a gun. But let me tell you something. The most potent kind of power, the ultimate weapon, is far more subtle. It doesn't draw blood, but it can break you. It's not a physical force, but it can leave you utterly defeated. I'm talking about the silent tyranny of emotional blackmail. It's a cold, calculated form of manipulation that's more insidious than any fistfight. No scars, no bruises, just a deep, gnawing emptiness. Ever heard of the term love bombing? Well, this is its sinister twin. Picture this. You're in a relationship that seems like a fairy tale at first. Your partner showers you with affection, compliments, and gifts. You feel like you've hit the jackpot. But then the tides turn. That same partner uses your love and commitment against you, twisting it into a weapon to manipulate you. They threaten to pull away their love unless you give in to their demands. Suddenly, the fairy tale turns into a nightmare. Welcome to the world's most potent weapon, the one that often goes unchecked and underappreciated. This isn't your typical power struggle. It's a psychological chess match where the pieces are your emotions and the board is your life. Today, we're going to expose the tactics of this silent tyrant and show you how to defend yourself against its lethal blows. By understanding the psychology of emotional blackmail, you can protect yourself from falling prey to its manipulative grasp. Let's start by dissecting the weapon itself. What is emotional blackmail, and why should you care? Emotional blackmail, also known as reverse psychology, is a form of manipulation that preys on your emotions. It's like an invisible shackle that binds you through feelings of guilt, obligation, and fear. Unlike physical or verbal abuse, it leaves no bruises or scars, making it all the more insidious. It corrodes your will without sparking your resistance. And that's its deadliest trait. Emotional blackmail is like a slow poison that wears down your resolve bit by bit, making you susceptible to manipulation and control. But what makes emotional blackmail so effective? Why does it often go unnoticed or worse, accepted as a norm? Let's delve into the tactics employed by the master manipulator. One of the most common tactics of emotional blackmail is using guilt as a lever. Imagine this: you're trying to enjoy a well-deserved vacation after months of hard work, but your partner throws a tantrum, making you feel guilty for wanting some time off. They remind you of all the sacrifices you've made in the relationship and imply that taking a break would be selfish. Before you know it, your hard-earned relaxation turns into another battleground. You end up feeling obligated to stay in a toxic situation just because you feel guilty about leaving. That's guilt as a weapon. Another tactic is strategic silence. The manipulator uses silence as a form of punishment, hoping that you'll break down and give in first. No talking, no eye contact, just cold, hard silence. It's as if they're saying, "If you don't do what I want, I'll withdraw my love and communication altogether, and you'll be left with nothing but regret." Withdrawal of warmth is another tactic. Suddenly, your partner stops being affectionate, stops initiating intimacy. They make you feel unwanted and unloved. The warmth that once bound you together is replaced with a chilling indifference. All of a sudden, you're walking on eggshells, desperately trying to regain the affection you once took for granted. And let's not forget internalized pressure. You might have felt this when your partner constantly criticizes you, never making you feel good enough. They make you question your own decisions and choices, slowly eroding your confidence and making you doubt yourself. Now, these tactics might seem like normal relationship issues, but they're not. They're deliberate strategies to keep you trapped. The ultimate goal of emotional blackmail is to gain complete control over you, to make you feel that your every action, thought, and emotion is dictated by their whims. It's a form of psychological abuse that can leave you broken and defeated. So, how can you defend yourself against this silent tyranny? The first step is awareness. Recognize the tactics of emotional blackmail. Understand that what you're experiencing is not normal, healthy behavior. Reach out for support from friends, family, or professionals who can help you see the situation more clearly. Remember, healing from emotional manipulation takes time. Be patient with yourself and celebrate every small victory. And here's the most important point. Don't let them make you doubt yourself. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Your feelings are valid. You deserve to be treated with respect. Don't settle for anything less. By understanding the psychology of emotional blackmail, you can break free from its grip. You can rewrite your story, this time on your own terms. So go ahead, make that first move towards healing. Reach out, connect, and break the silence. You're stronger than you think. And remember, you're not alone.
Every illusion has an expiration date. For some men, it comes suddenly, a betrayal, a breakup, a moment of raw clarity when the mask slips. For others, it builds slowly, an unease that grows heavier until the truth can no longer be ignored. This is the breaking point, the moment a man realizes he was never leading, never deciding, never truly free. At first, the reaction is denial. He replays old memories, searching for signs he missed. He asks himself, was I blind, or was she that good? But the answers don't matter. What matters is the new lens through which he sees everything. What once felt like romance now looks like conditioning. What once felt like destiny now looks like design. This awakening is both painful and liberating. Painful because he must admit he was played. His love, loyalty, and sacrifices were tools in a game he didn't know he was playing. Liberating because awareness is the first step toward power. Once you see the strings, you can no longer be a puppet. Some men, however, never recover. They grow bitter, cynical, distrustful of all women. They confuse awareness with hatred. Others take the opposite path. They rebuild themselves, stronger and sharper, not to wage war against women, but to master their own psychology. They learn the same truth Machiavelli taught princes centuries ago. Control begins not with others, but with the self. This is the true endgame of the Reverse Machiavelli Effect. Not to make men hate women, but to wake them up. To show them that power unrecognized is power lost. And the man who ignores these truths will always play the fool in someone else's script. The breaking point is a crossroads. One road leads to bitterness, the other, to mastery. The choice is his, but for the first time, it's a real choice.
Machiavelli warned rulers, control the people, or be controlled by them. The same principle applies to relationships. The truth is simple, but most men resist it. The only way to escape manipulation is to master yourself. The Reverse Machiavelli Effect thrives on weakness, insecurity, loneliness, the hunger for validation. A man desperate to be loved is easy to bend. A man who fears rejection can be ruled by silence. A man who equates sacrifice with worth will always be exploited. But the moment he breaks these chains, everything changes. When a man no longer craves approval, guilt loses its power. When he no longer fears loss, emotional withdrawal becomes meaningless. When he sees love not as destiny, but as choice, illusions collapse. True strength is not about controlling women, nor about resisting them with hostility. It is about becoming unshakable, rooted in clarity, purpose, and boundaries. The man who commands himself cannot be commanded by another. He may choose to give love, but it is never coerced. He may share his life, but never at the expense of his freedom. This is the true antidote to the Reverse Machiavelli Effect: self-mastery. Without it, men stumble endlessly through manipulation, repeating the same patterns across relationships. With it, they rise above the game entirely, immune to tricks, immune to illusions. The irony is profound. By trying to control men, women inadvertently awaken some to their greatest strength, the ability to govern themselves. And once that transformation happens, no amount of psychological warfare can bend him again. Machiavelli wrote for princes. Schopenhauer wrote for thinkers. But this lesson is for every man today. If you don't master yourself, someone else will. The choice is eternal: control or be controlled. And the man who chooses mastery writes his own destiny.